with OP08 coming out in English, I thought this would be a good opportunity to give you guys my current deck list for King in OP09. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. My name is Mobby, and today we're going to go over the King. This is my personal list. We're going to go over each card, talking about the strengths, the weaknesses. Then we're going to head over to the PC view for a full breakdown, the early game, the mid game, and the late game. Make sure to like and subscribe. It's free to do so. It helps out this small channel. I upload daily deck profiles and duels for One Piece, Dragon Ball Super Fusion World, and Union Arena. Alright, so we're here. Let's talk about the set relevance first. This leader came out in OP08 with pretty good, really good cards, especially everything that came before that really helps out the Animal Kingdom. Is this leader good in OP09? It's decent, but it really didn't get any buffs. There are extra cards you could put here and there, but it has nothing to do with the Animal Kingdom Pirate. So this is primarily a pure OP08 sort of deck, but it's still pretty good in OP09. So the archetype and percentage. This is, I would say, 55% Animal Kingdoms, and the rest of it is 45% cards that really help and buff out this sort of play style. So the type of deck here is going to be a pretty off meta. It's not really hugely competitive, but if you do play with friends, you're going to have a good time. There's a lot of really fun shenanigans you can do here. So we're going to talk from all the cards, the leader, lowest to highest. We're going to read each one, and I'm going to give you a summary on how they work in the deck. Okay, so let's begin with King itself. So this leader, as mentioned, OP08, this is the alternate art. If you guys are interested in printing out your own proxies, link in the description to do so. I do a full tutorial. All right, so 5,000 power, OP08 4, and it's a dual color, purple-black, Animal Kingdom Pirates. Then you can activate this once per turn. You can remove 2 Dawn, and you can choose one of these to do. If you have 5 or less cards, you can draw 1 card, which is very good in a bind or using it very late game. Or you can give up to one of your opponent's characters -2 costs during this turn, which is a really cool and versatile ability. Let's talk about every single card, starting with these queens. We're running 4 of these. This is from OP08 121. On play, look at the top 5 cards, grab an Animal Kingdom Pirate except for Queen, then the rest go to the bottom. This is really good. There are a total of 8 searching cards in this deck, and you need this to find your key piece, which is Onigashima, which is a 3-cost stage. So if you find a couple of these queens in your hand, obviously if you find the stage in your hand, you're going to want to keep that and use that right away. But if you don't find it, and maybe you have 1 or 2 queens in your hand, maybe you keep this instead so you can go ahead and search for that stage. Your other sort of searching card came out a while ago from OP07. We're going to claim the One Piece. So if your leader is Animal Kingdom, which it is, it's King, or Big Mom, you can look at top 5 and grab up to 1 animal or Big Mom pirates and add it to your hand. So once again, this is the second part of researching, and you want to find Onigashima right away. The trigger is activate the main effect, which is pretty good for later. But yes, you want to find your stage right away. Other than that, after searching for your stage, you want to just get your late game Animal Kingdom, which is like your 7-drop Jack or your 9-drop Kaidos. Next off, we have some Surus just to fill out some ratios of the 2Ks in here. It's pretty decent. This deck does have some removal, so this could come into play, but you're primarily going to be using it for the 2K counter. 102 on play, give up to one of your opponent's characters, -2 costs. So it's not searchable. If you happen to have it, hey, use it for a 2K. Alright, this is your bread and butter of the deck. You want to find these ASAP, and you want to throw it out as soon as possible as well. Onigashima came out in STO4, very powerful for the Animal Kingdom Pirates because you have to have the leader, Animal Kingdom. Then you add 1 Dawn and you put it into rest. So you need this, otherwise you're going to be really behind because a lot of decks these days rely on heavy removal. They rely on a lot of rush, and we'll go ahead and talk about that later. Next off, you have your Charlotte Pudding. So this came out in OP08. It's really good for this deck, but also it's a Big Mom pirate, so it can be searched by the second searcher, which is pretty good. 3, 4, 1, your turn once per turn. When a Dawn card is on your field and it's returned to your deck, you add back 1 and rest it. So it semi works with your leader. If you can get multiple puttings, or later on there's the 5-drop kid, you're going to be able to get value off this Dawn. It's Dawn removal without losing too much Dawn. Starting 4 of these. If you don't find your Onigashimas, you want to put these out right away too. Next off, we have Black Maria, a really good Animal Kingdom Pirates card from OP08. That's a staple in a lot of purples, as we've seen, because the effect is just crazy. 3/2/2, activate main once per turn. If you have no other Black Marias, meaning it doesn't even have to be this one, if you have like a, just any other Black Maria, you can't do this, then add up to 5 Dawn cards from your Dawn deck and then rest them. Then, at the end of the turn, return the Dawn until you have the same number as your opponent. So, if you can have this on the field, you can do some weird shenanigans with your Dawn removal, or late game, you have the Kaido that does a -5 Dawn. You're going to get a lot of value from this, and you want to set it up the turn beforehand. Next off, we have another 2K in the form of Hitokiri Kamazo from OP06. 4/5/2, your turn, once per turn. When a Dawn card is returned back to your deck using your leader's ability, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 2 or less. So unfortunately not searchable by anything. It's just here for a 2K, and if you really need to, it can remove something with the ability, but it's a little expensive to do so. It's going to be very rarely you're going to use this. All right, next card is going to be Queen from ST04. 5/6/1, innate blocker. On play, remove 1 Dawn, draw 2 trash 1. Really nice, really good staple, good blocker. You can sift through a lot of stuff, especially anything that lets you trash cards from your hand. Once you get that first Onigashima, you're going to have 3 left in your deck or somewhere, and you want to be able to trash them. This is a good contender to use for that. All right, next off, we have another 2K. A lot of defense in this deck, right? This is Who's Who from OP08. 5/5/2, on play, trash 1 card from your hand to KO a character with 3 or less. You might think this is really good with your leader, and it came from the set, but it's a little interesting because this is an on play, meaning you have to use your leader ability before you do this. So you -2 Dawn, and hopefully you have enough to play this if you want to do it that turn. But you might have your Charlotte Puddings, or you might have your kids, which we'll talk about soon, to help you get your Dawn back in order to play this. But basically, yeah, you're going to be able to KO a 5-drop if you're able to use it. But it's primarily here for a searchable 2K. And the trigger's not too bad either. Yeah, comes with the trigger. KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 3 or less. Alright, the next card is another key piece of the deck. This is Eustace Captain Kidd from OP05. 5/6/1. Innate blocker. Then on your turn, once per turn, when a Dawn card is removed and put back to your field, to the Dawn deck, you add 1 back as active. That's super important. It's so much better than the pudding. The pudding is really good because you get it back, but if you're able to have a couple of these, it comes back as active, so you can use it for attaching, etc. So one of your very key pieces as well for this deck. All right, next up we have our late game. First one is going to be Jack. So this is from OP08. You can see here 7/8/0. This character has 4 costs passively, so it's going to be 11, very hard to remove with a lot of stuff. Activate main. You can also rest this card so you can do it the turn that it's played. Draw 1 card and trash 1 from your hand. Then KO up to one of your opponent's 3 or lower. So this is a really good card specific for this, because once again, you're going to be trashing some cards to use it. Your extra Onigashimas, right? Get rid of them. Your early game puddings that you're just not going to play anymore. Get rid of them. Then KO up to a 3 cost. You can do this later, so that means it's not an on play. You can use your leader's ability, which is -2, so you can end up KO a 5 cost for this. If you need to kill anything more, you have your Suru, So really good for this deck. Absolutely run 4. They're amazing. Then for your super late game, first we have Kaido from OP08 990. Activate main. Once again, it's main. You can use it later with your ability. It's not an on play. Trash 1 other card, Onigashima. If this character was played on this turn, trash up to a character with the cost of 7 or less, or a 9 if you're able to use this. Then your opponent trashes 1 card from their hand. A very amazing ability. However, you can only use it once, and that's the turn that it's played, but that's okay, because now we have this other character to help you go out the game. So if you need heavy removal, use this Kaido. If you need decent removal and you need to rush, use this Kaido instead from ST04. 9/10/0 on play, remove -5 Dawn. So if you have the Charlotte Puddings, or you have the kids, or you have the Black Maria, you're gonna get some value back from here. Then you KO a 6 or less. You're not really gonna be able to use your leader ability because it's an on play, unless you have kids on the field beforehand. Honestly, that's the only way you can do it, right? Because if you have 9 or 10 Dawn and you put this on play, you're not going to have enough. But if you have a board set up beforehand, you can use this, remove something, go put the cost down, then you can KO up to an 8 cost. So there's some versatility between these two cards. Really, really good. So yeah, you KO, and then it has Rush. So let's go ahead and head over to the PC view, and we'll talk about everything here. We'll go through the full breakdown because there's a lot to talk about here. So here we go. This is the full breakdown. This is how I build my decks. If you guys are interested, link down below so you can see all the deck profiles for every deck that me or Scoobs likes to do. All right, so King, I call this OP09 upgrades. Basically, it's OP09 relevance. The only card, there's 2 cards that I was thinking of putting in for OP09, which is a Beppo. This Beppo is a purple one, and basically whenever a Dawn is returned back to you, your leader, or I believe your leader or a character, gets plus 1000 power for the turn, so that's okay to put in. You could probably put this in, and you could replace the Hitoa Kiri because you're not really going to usually KO a 2 cost or whatever with this, so the Beppo might be good. There's also the putting 09, which is on play. If your opponent has 5 or so cards, they trash 1, which is decent. However, you don't want to play that. You want to play the other stuff. But if you want to put Gecko Moria in here, then the pudding is good because you're able to combo off of it. All right, so the breakdown is 14 0 cost counters, dead cards in your hand. So these things don't do anything in your hand. Onigashima, Jax, Kaido. There are 16 1K counters. Then there are 16 2K counters. There's a lot of 2K counters, a lot. But basically, you have the Black Maria, which is going to be played more often than not. Then the triggers, there's 8 with the we're gonna claim the One Piece, which is a searcher, and the Who's Who to KO the whatever. Then you have 8 blockers from the Queens and Kids. Very good. So let's talk about the early game. So the early game here, you want to do nothing but search for Onigashima. If you have your opening hand Onigashima, you're good to go. If you don't have it, you mulligan into it. If you start the game with a couple of searchers, like 2 queens or where this, and you don't want to mulligan, you maybe want to keep those. So your first turn, it's all that. Second turn, Onigashima right away. If you don't have that, then you want to put out your Charlotte Puddings or Black Marias to set up some good stuff. Middle is going to be, once again, setting up more. So middle is set up. So more puddings, and then your kids and your Maria. These kids and these puddings are really good for using your leader ability to get the draw off, to get the lower cost, and then you put your Maria down so you can threaten the board with more stuff. You know, you being able to use your leader ability every single turn and don't lose any value, etc. Then the late game, once you have your stage on the field, you're going to be using Jax to do some insane good KO, your Kaidos to remove and destroy and all that stuff. So it's a pretty basic sort of setup. You want your search, you want to grab your searchers right away, stage and whatnot. All right, let's talk about the good stuff, which here is high ramp value. You have amazing late game. You have really good blockers, and these things just work really well because you can also search for these. If you already have your Onigashimas, then what are you going to do with your queens? And we're going to claim the One Piece. You want to search for your late game and go crazy. Next up, it's a good archetype. Purple, black, animals is amazing. Once again, you have the 8 searchers. The purple ones, the black ones, and Onigashima's really good. It just works really well into each other. Now, the weak part is it's really stage reliance. So you don't really need it to win. You can always play regular and ramp up, but you have to find it on stage 2. You have to find it right away. And turn 2, you're going to have either 3 Dawn or 4 Dawn, which is then you're going to be using the stage, which, you know, eats up your first 2 turns. So it's also very weak to rush and removal. If they destroy you before you can find your stage, you can put these guys out, you're dead. And there's a lot of removal, so they can get rid of your pudding, your kids and your Maria. You're not going to be able to get a lot of value off of your leader abilities. So, and unfortunately, that's the meta right now. So that's it, guys. This is the King deck. This is what I'm using, and honestly it's much better than the one I used in the pure OP08 sort of an environment. If you guys, once again, if you guys want to see that, link in the description so you can look at the video for my first King. But yeah, as we make more decks, I feel like I'm getting a little bit better with just making my own decks. I try not to look too much at like meta decks and stuff to see what I put in. Every once in a while, I will look up the staple cards, but other than that, I just, you know, we do a lot of testing, me and Scoobs, a lot of duels, and yeah, we'll go from there. So that's it. So let me know what you guys think for King and OP08 and OP09. I wish it got some more support, but god dang, do they really need it? I mean, I think the leader is a little weak in general, just the ability, but the color is so good. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.